As Western leaders met in Brussels for a security summit last week. Joining us now to break this all down is Gordon Chang, the author of The Coming Collapse of China. Gordon, it is great to have you with us. I want to just actually first, in this moment, President Biden just spoke a short time ago, delivering a very unified message amidst this war in Ukraine. What are your thoughts?
Two really important points he made. One of them was that there had to be regime change in the Russian Federation, that Putin could no longer lead that country. That's really important. And that has reverberations because there are other leaders who are just as horrible and just as dangerous and belligerent as he is. And this really sets a marker. The other thing that I think is important is when he said that peace around the world depended upon peace and stability in Europe. And that's absolutely true, because if Russia is able to get away with breaking apart Ukraine or even annexing the whole of it, then really that sends a message to Xi Jinping of China that he can take Taiwan, India, Japan, the Philippines, you name it.
That's a great point. I want to play this soundbite that we just heard from President Biden during his speech at the Royal Palace in Warsaw. Take a listen.
Brutality will never grind down their will to be free. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, for free people refused to live in a world of hopelessness and darkness.
We were just talking about, as we have throughout this conflict, Gordon, that what happens in Ukraine, what NATO allies and what the United States is willing to allow Russia to get away with sends a very, very stark message to U.S. adversaries. Now we have seen this missile test from North Korea. Talk to us a little bit about the significance of this to our viewers.
Well, this missile probably has a range of 9,300 miles. That means, and by the way, that's the same range as China's DF-41. And that means that this North Korean missile can reach the United States, all parts of the United States. That's also true probably with their Hwasong-15, which was tested in November 2017. So North Korea for some time has had the capability of hitting Key West. The point now is, a lot of people say, well, they don't have really great accuracy. They may not be able to deliver a warhead to an American city. That's almost irrelevant because they can use this missile to detonate high above the American homeland, what's called an electromagnetic pulse attack, which can take out our electricity, which can kill tens of millions of Americans. So we need to be very concerned about North Korea's capabilities, and we need to stop minimizing what the North Koreans have been able to do because they've had a lot of Chinese help and perhaps some Russian help as well.
What do you make of the timing of this, Gordon, and what do you think the Biden administration's response should be?
The timing is to take advantage of two things. First of all, there's a new South Korean president. They want to intimidate Seoul. But the more important point is clearly this was meant to take advantage of the distraction of the Biden administration because, of course, we're focused on Eastern Europe. So North Korea is going to make as much progress as it possibly can. We've seen this with the spate of missile tests. And this is a real indication that North Korea is seeing a vacuum. And the Biden administration needs to start enforcing sanctions we have, not only on North Korea, but also on those who've been busting North Korea sanctions, namely Moscow and Beijing.
You said that this was perhaps a test of the incoming South Korean president. Talk to me a little bit about what their response has been.
Well, South Korea just had its March 9th election. This was historic because they went from a progressive candidate to a so-called conservative one. Yoon Suk-yeol was during the campaign, which was basically focused on domestic issues. Nonetheless, when it got to foreign issues, Yoon, the president-elect, clearly was very pro-American, very anti-North Korea, very anti-China. And that's a good thing because it means that South Korea can actually start working closely with us and with our Japanese allies. South Korea's military has tested some short-range missiles of its own as really a demonstration of resolve. That's good, but South Korea needs to do a lot more to defend itself.
Yeah, Gordon, bringing this back, of course, to the conflict and the war in Ukraine that we're seeing right now, we know that Russia's military is certainly low on ammunition. They've been seeking support from China in all of this. China sort of seems to be in this balancing act. What do you make of their response so far? Are they assisting the Russians in any way?
Well, they're certainly assisting the Russians with elevated commodity purchases. They've put their diplomacy in service of Russia. Their propaganda machine is working overtime to support Moscow. We see this, for instance, with TikTok. And of course, China's making its financial system available to sanctioned Russian institutions. So, Beijing is trying to placate the United States and others, but it's certainly trying to make sure that Vladimir Putin has the means to continue his attack on Ukraine, because the Chinese want to bleed us. Even if they think that Russia's going to lose, they'll go down with him because they believe that they can actually hurt the West by continuing the attacks in Ukraine.
Gordon Chang, you always have such a beautiful way of breaking everything down in a way that everybody can understand. I really appreciate you. Great to have you on.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.